Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and staying safe during this time. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. Like I said, thank you so much for checking me out. If you haven't done so, please make sure to hit that subscribe button just right below the video. Cool, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you're returning, welcome back. Thanks again for your support. I truly do appreciate having you here. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and staying safe during this time.
Wanted to start right here and set the tone for really everything we're seeing in the market right now. We've seen growth assets get hit hard recently, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that people believed the Fed was going to be raising rates. Typically in traditional markets, this is a bad thing for growth assets and risk assets such as cryptocurrencies and growth-related stocks. To our advantage, though, it actually looks like the Fed will be doing a complete 180 on this. I remember back a couple months ago when fear around these rate hikes first started, a lot of people were saying the Federal Reserve was going to be raising rates at about 50 to 75 basis points. Now, the Fed is coming out and saying they might only be raising 25 basis points and kind of using the current turmoil going on overseas to kind of justify why they would raise rates a lot slower so they don't further spook markets. Well, this is a narrative they are telling the media, but I'm going to be showing you guys the real reason they are not going to raise rates, and even if they do, it is going to be so short-lived. If we take a look right now at the federal debt chart, we can see it is absolutely skyrocketed. And if the Fed raises rates, these are the same rates they are going to have to pay on their own debt. Obviously, the Fed cannot raise rates that much without bankrupting the country. The Fed needs to be very conservative with how much they're raising rates because it actually severely impacts them. This is why over the past couple years, whenever the Fed has tried to raise rates, they've always 180'd and done a U-turn because they always increase the interest rate to a point where it actually starts really hurting them because their own debt is so out of control. This is one reason we know even if the Fed does try to raise rates, they're going to be constantly looking for excuses not to. They need to try to raise rates because obviously it looks horrible if we have inflation running rampant and the Fed's like, no, we're not going to do anything. The Fed wants to try to pretend to do something, but at the end of the day, if they do anything that is actually going to help the inflation problem, which is the whole reason they are saying they needed to raise rates, they're just going to end up forcing the U.S. to default on their own debts because the U.S. cannot handle these higher interest rates. I think this is super important to understand because I believe the Fed is going to keep looking to different crises in the world to try to say we're not going to end up raising rates as much as a lot of people think we need to. This is going to be super bullish for cryptocurrencies because as soon as this narrative goes away of thinking the Fed is going to raise rates, all the money that has been scared out of these assets is going to flow back in, and we are going to see a ton of value come back into the sector. Not only that though, but that is just the speculative nature about how the markets works. We know cryptocurrencies are so much more than that and have real world utility that is changing the world. This is one of the most important things, and it's a hard concept to grasp, but it's the concept of money velocity. I'm going to be doing a whole video on this, but this is just a great comment by Raoul Paul right here, and I wanted to break it down for you guys because this is really going to get you started and thinking about this concept.
Can do at other countries. I mean, I'm in Utah right now, and the taxi driver, I always chat to the taxi driver, and I asked him where he's from. He said Sri Lanka. I said, how's things in Sri Lanka? And he's like, terrible. I said, well, what's going on? He said, well, people are out in the streets rioting or protesting. There's massive queues outside the gas stations. I said, yeah, gas prices are high. He goes, well, that's not the issue. The issue is the government's run out of dollars to pay for it. So they just didn't buy enough gas. So there's not enough gas for the country. These are the kind of linkages that happen in situations like this. If Russia remains out of the global system, which looks increasingly likely, then we probably have a big liquidity problem. And that spits around the world in various ways.
So I'm just going to cut it off right here because he already addressed the super significant point. One of the biggest problems in the world right now isn't the fact that we don't have the value to solve this liquidity problem he's talking about. It's the fact that we can't get the liquidity from place to place fast enough. This is solved by cryptocurrencies and specifically XRP. So many experts have come out and said the 2008 financial crisis wouldn't even have happened if cryptocurrencies were the underlying asset used to move value across our financial system. That is because all the banks that needed money instantaneously could have been helped much quicker and not forced to go extended amounts of times with their balance sheets being destroyed. Faster liquidity and increasing the money velocity is going to drastically change our financial system. It's going to make it so companies can move at exponentially faster paces and make it so their business can grow so much faster. Not only that, but it's going to cause these issues of liquidity that we're seeing right now in the world, and the same issues we saw in the 2008 financial crisis, completely solved by the ability to instantly source value. This is huge, and what Raoul Pal is saying here is the problem we're seeing in the world right now is solved by a technology, and that is the cryptocurrencies you and I own. Now you might be wondering, is it going to be the cryptocurrencies you and I own, or are they going to be private cryptocurrencies, private currencies made by the government? I'm going to be showing you guys a very interesting clip from Brian Brooks about that, so you guys are definitely going to want to stick around for that. I wanted to show you this real quick though, because just like Raoul Pal was saying, we have big issues with liquidity in our financial system, and that's why foundations like the Digital Pound Foundation are partnering with Ripple. They have already announced that they want to accelerate their timeline to move to a digital pound, and we can see right here they want to make money move like information. This is a direct quote that Ripple has been saying since 2013, and there is no doubt in my mind that when these future financial systems are built, they are going to be built on leading blockchain technologies like Ripple. It is going to change the way the payment system works, but more importantly, not just payments, but the entire way value moves anywhere in the world. You cannot even really comprehend what this is going to do for the financial system, because it is going to completely change the financial system as we know it today. I just think it's so interesting to see these foundations that are working to create these digital currencies partnered with American companies like Ripple, while the SEC attacks Ripple. I'm sure when this is over, Ripple will have their place with the US CBDC, but there is no doubt in my mind that this is where the world is going because of what Raoul Pal said. I want to keep moving though. This all goes to the great you-know-what. I don't want to say the word, but Wendy Rogers said no one is positioned for this except the elites. Let me tell you right now, we are positioned for this because we are in the assets that are going to be changing the world for the better. They're going to transform the financial system, and there is no doubt in my mind that we are in the assets that are going to lead the way to doing this. Keep moving though. Now this was a very interesting clip between this lady and Brian Brooks on CNBC. Now this goes to the fact of whether or not we're going to see private currencies made by the government, or we're going to see these massive digital currency projects built on public blockchains such as the XRPL, and this is what you guys need to understand about that.
It's really interesting, sir. I think a lot of people have taken the wrong lesson from China. So it's true that China banned Bitcoin mining and banned individuals from investing in cryptocurrencies. But China is pursuing a different blockchain path. China is pursuing the central bank digital currency path, which means the government will build its own blockchain and they will dominate the financial sector for their people. And the alternative, which is being looked at around the world in places like Germany and the United Arab Emirates, Singapore, some of these real growth economies, is they're focused on how do we put financial power back in the hands of users.
So he makes a very clear distinction right there. The Chinese government is trying to build a CBDC that is completely owned, controlled, and monitored by the government. What we see in the US, and this is the way the US and the rest of the world has always done stuff. The innovation comes from the private sector. Guys, the US government can't even build a website that runs properly. How are they going to build the CBDC? The answer is they're not. They're going to rely on the private sector, just like they rely on the private sector for cybersecurity and everything else they do. They always look to the private sector, and that's how innovation has prospered in the US, and that's how the US government has prospered. If it wasn't for the private sector, then our entire country would be run on websites that look like the DMV. It would be horrible, and the US is going to leverage the private companies it has for its blockchain strategy. Let me tell you who the leader of that's going to be. It's Ripple, and there's no question in my mind. I also think Circle is going to play an important role too, but that's another topic. Keep moving though. I thought this was super interesting out of Link 2 today, and I want to just address this Brad Garlinghouse interview real quick. I'm not going to play it because this video is already getting a little long, but in this video he says he was more impressed than he ever hoped to be about the recent executive order. I believe this is a very profound statement based on from someone who is currently in a massive fight with the US government. We know it's just the SEC, but the fact that he is so happy about this executive order shows that we should be happy about it too. Also, he seems very confident. Always love to see a confident CEO. The way he's taking more interviews right now, you can just tell the tides are in Ripple's favor, and Brad Garlinghouse knows it. Make sure you watch this on your own time. It's always good to listen to Brad Garlinghouse. I saw a pretty funny tweet, I forget who it was from. It was, whenever Brad Garlinghouse talks, I feel richer, and I feel the same way. Brad's one of those people who just really inspires confidence, so I always love listening to Brad. Last of all, I saw this email from, actually second to last of all, I saw this email from Link2, and I thought it was pretty interesting. 3 reasons to invest in Ripple today. Hester Peirce doesn't think the SEC is going to win. Settlement talks have already started between April and May. I'm not exactly sure where they're getting this time frame from, but we do know settlement talks are always going on, and I personally think this is going to end in a settlement. I think the judge is going to tell both sides, and this is kind of the third point, to get together and figure this out, because if she's going to have to make the ruling, neither side is going to like it. I think this ends in the settlement. The only way I don't think it does is if Ripple really just wants to take the distance because they're that confident in their case. But the good thing to know about that is I don't think it's going to go the distance because the SEC is confident. I think they realize they're in a bad position. Last of all, and I wanted to point this out, this is from David Lee. For those of you who don't follow him, I used to be a big member of the Tesla community before I really saw the same exact things going on in the early Tesla days as I'm seeing right now in XRP and Ripple. A lot of FUD, a lot of people not understanding what's really happening. David Lee says, the more I looked through the court docs filed yesterday, the more I think Elon Musk will prevail against the SEC. Guys, the more pressure the SEC has from these different parties, like Elon Musk, like Tesla, and like the XRP armory continues to pressure them through Connect to Congress, through John Dean, the more the SEC is gonna have to cave. At the end of the day, congressmen and congresswomen do not like hearing their constituents complaining about an agency that's supposed to protect them.
I'm your guy. I will keep you posted. I'm your advocate. I'll be back on a daily basis, usually multiple times per day, with these videos to keep you updated with everything going on. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't done so, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Feel free to share any of my videos with your friends, family, social media, or anybody who may care to listen. Thanks so much for your continued support. I'm always here for you. I want to help you through this time. So thank you so much for continuing to choose me. Enjoy your day, stay safe, and I'll catch you again probably in a couple hours. Thanks, everybody. See you later.